And a big-time main event coming up this weekend. It's featherweight fireworks. As always, one half your host duo, Craig Allen. Twitter and Instagram at Craig Allen FNP. With me to my left, to your right, Matt Allen. Respective socials at Matt Allen FNP. We have the New England Cartel's own Calvin Kattar looking to put a tricky split decision loss in yet another main event. His last time out to Josh Emmett in the rearview mirror, taking on a surging Arnold Allen. And for Arnold Allen, 11-fight win streak on the line. He's undefeated in the UFC. Just picked up a big first-round finish his last time out against one Dan Hooker. So a great win for Arnold Allen. Kattar is coming into his fifth main event in a row. He's gone 2-2 in those last 4 main events. Obviously a loss to Max Holloway and Josh Emmett, as we had mentioned. And if you look at the wins that he has, one over Dan Ige, beat him pillar to post, one over Giga Chikadze, beat him pillar to post as well. And his other main event that he has on his record, a 3-rounder against a retired striker, Zabit Magomed Sharipov, a fight that Kattar was rallying back in. Everybody loved that 3rd round for him. But regardless, for Kattar, he's been such an interesting guy in this featherweight division. It almost seems like he kind of came out of nowhere at a certain point. And the funniest thing that I find, and I found when I went to look at Kattar and all of his fights in the UFC, debuted against Andrei Feely, was a minus 300 underdog, wins that fight, plus 180 underdog, UFC 220 at home against Shane Burgos, wins as an underdog, loses to Hanato Moicano, they were about even in the odds, beats Chris Fishgold, Moncton, New Brunswick, Canada, minus 230 favorite. He was a minus 160 when he took on Ricardo Lamas. He beat him by finish. Loses to Zabit, he's an underdog, beats Stevens as a big favorite, beats Ige as a favorite, big favorite, loses to Holloway as an underdog, beats Chikadze, I've struggled with that one, as a plus 200 underdog, and loses to Josh Emmett as a minus 240 favorite. He's all over the map in terms of his odds, and it seems like people have a hard time capping him, let alone finding his standing in this division.
And I think that's because he does have a very foundational and basic skill set. Like, Calvin Kattar doesn't do anything that really wows you. He's really good at a lot of different areas of MMA, but again, I always bring up the Yair Rodriguez example. Like, Yair Rodriguez does stuff in a cage that you sit there at home and you go, okay, there's no chance in this lifetime I'm ever going to be able to pull off just the degree of athleticism he's able to demonstrate with some of his techniques. And this isn't me slagging Calvin Kattar at all. But Calvin Kattar doesn't do anything that you sit there and think, I couldn't do that. But the thing is, to be one of the all-time greats, you've got to be really good at the basics. And that's what everybody's good at, the basics. And there has to be something said for Calvin Kattar, who really has found a way to perfect some of the basics in his boxing technique. But the thing is, we have seen him get behind against some of the people who are kind of all-time top tier, if you will. Guys like Max Holloway, of course, is one of the best strikers of all time. And I guess this is less analysis, and this is me kind of handing it off to you and more opening it up as a discussion. Is Calvin Kattar right now kind of the Derek Brunson of this division? Is he a guy who, if you beat Calvin Kattar, great things are going to happen to you in your career? You're going to fight for a belt, or you're going to be in a title eliminator, something of that degree. But if Calvin Kattar beats you, then you're going to be fighting ranked opponents for a little while. You might have 2-3 fights in the top 15 before you really do get another bite at that apple. Because I think there's a world where Calvin Kattar is a really competitive fight to everybody in the top 5, which we have seen. I know he struggled with Holloway, but still, if you just think about the highlights of that fight, not the performance, Kattar did land some pretty good shots in some of that fight.
If you think you can box with power and volume for 5 rounds like Calvin Kattar, you're fucked.
No, but there's nothing in his boxing that's like, wow, he's not throwing 360 switch kicks, there's not a lot of spinning techniques, there's not a lot of Habib-type grappling, it's a lot of jabs, it's a lot of combination.
It's a lot like that Space Cadet song by Metro Boomin, aim a lot of sticks like it's laser tag. That's exactly what Calvin Kattar does in every single one of his fights.
I don't think I can strike like Calvin Kattar, Craig. I don't think anybody who listened to what I just said thinks that I came across thinking I could strike like Calvin Kattar.
Okay, well, for Calvin Kattar, again, the big point that I had, if you look at it in his fight against Josh Emmett his last time out, it was a really tight one. I thought Kattar won, and on the rewatch as well, he won round 1, round 4, and round 5. Emmett had a good shot round 2, round 3. Round 5 was the one that was fairly close. Emmett was throwing the big power shots. Kattar
showed a good chin.
Land with volume, and Kattar had him busted up by the end of that one. So, I mean, you look at that one, 130 significant strikes for him in that fight. 1 leg kick. He went 1 of 1 with leg kicks. His other win that he had against Chikadze, 144 significant strikes, 4 leg kicks. Like, Kattar's not a big kicker at all, which is something in a fight against Arnold Allen that If you check a lot of Allen kicks, you're going to have a good night out. If you land with a lot of volume in your boxing and you back up Arnold Allen, you're going to have a really good night. And I look at the fight that Allen had against Sodiq Yusuff where he got backed up a lot. He got kind of caught waiting a little bit. He landed that big power shot, got the knockdown in the first round. Yusuff kind of rallied back round 2, round 3. And I know Allen won that one by unanimous decision. Everybody had Allen winning, but you had a little bit of a case for Yusuff in that matchup. And Allen, his last time out against Hooker. Now, is Hooker a journeyman? What is he at this point? I don't know. But yeah, Arnold Allen, uptick in aggression, Team Renegade. I'll throw the picture up there of his dad with Leon Edwards. You imagine if Arnold Allen and his dad came walking up to you in a back alley, you run the other way, right?
It's weird because they both seem like two of the nicer men you'd ever come across.
Yeah,
but yes, off of physique alone, you would run the other way.
It's like Lance the Party Palmer and his dad.
Yeah.
I would not want to see those guys in an alley because their dads would beat the fuck out of you.
This is my question. Can Arnold Allen hurt Calvin Kattar? I think that's an important question you have to ask yourself because Calvin Kattar is like Michael Bisping, for instance. He's someone who can throw with power, but he doesn't throw for the potential of power. Like, there's two different types of strikers, and I always think, because middleweight's an easy way to describe it. Michael Bisping is all volume, not a lot of power. Yes, he has some knockout wins, but for the most part, it was historical volume that would get guys out of there. The other side of that would be Vanderlei Silva. Vanderlei would load up on every shot like crazy. He would telegraph his punches. But the thing is, if you don't get out of the way of those punches, there's some devastating consequences that are going to come along with those. Calvin Kattar is much more similar to Bisping than he is Vanderlei, where he just let the technique flows naturally. He does have power again. Don't misconstrue my words and think that Calvin Kattar doesn't have power, but he doesn't throw trying to knock guys out, and I think that's important because Allen can have both those versions. He can be the steady fighter, and that's the other thing too. I don't think 5 rounds is going to affect Arnold Allen. I think Arnold Allen's a good steady fighter. I know he might not always fight at the exact same pace for every single round, but I think he's a steady enough fighter and a cerebral enough fighter to understand what situation he's in. Now, yes, I favor the fact, and you brought it up a few times now, so I feel like it's going to be a big point of yours. Calvin Kattar has been in a number of UFC main events up until this point.
And he fights about the same in every round.
Exactly. Like I said, both these guys I would say are cut from the same cloth. Now, the difference is, I know Calvin Kattar can be steady for 5 rounds, but I do think Arnold Allen's the type of guy who, again, he doesn't throw with everything with power. He can throw with volume. He's not the most aggressive guy we've ever seen, even though, yes, last time we saw him go out there and throw with a lot of power. I just think this has all the makings of a classic. I think we're going to get a great fight this Saturday.
And the last time that Arnold Allen lost, it was years ago against Marcin Rocek that's been with KSW. He's on The Ultimate Fighter season 22 with the GOAT Arnold Allen. Artem Lobov. And for Allen, if you do look at it, he's a lot lower in terms of his volume compared to Calvin Kattar. And he debuted back in 2015. So he's been around in the UFC longer than Calvin Kattar has. And I do look at it, I mean, he's got a really nice left cross in close. That's what drops Sodiq Yusuff. He mixes in his wrestling when he needs to, and he can drop his levels
with that head kick
quite easily. He's got really good kicks in his repertoire. But if you want to crowd the kicker, we saw Kattar do that to Chop Liver Giga Chikadze with everybody on this channel, and they're not fans of him anymore. But the same can be said because a lot of people don't like Calvin Kattar and the fact that he's been in some of these wars. He's been in with a lot of power punchers, a lot of volume numbers, and that Max Holloway fight, I know it was 445 significant strikes that Holloway landed, an all-time historic number.
Just that no-look right hand.
And that weighs down Kattar's significant strike numbers historically. But if you just take away that one fight for Kattar, it's the volume, it's the presence in every round, and it's the fact that he doesn't get dropped or knocked down in his fights, and he drops and knocks down a lot of his opponents. So you do look at this one. I mean, Arnold Allen, I just touched on it a little bit before I talked about, the fact that his dad's yoked. Arnold Allen trains at Team Renegade. You might know that gym for Leon Edwards, Fabian Edwards. You might know it for, Tom Breeze. It's over with Levels Fighting. Or their other teammate that just got a win this month with Levels, and Aiden Lee that fought with Bellator and Cage Warriors. He got a submission win at the start of the month.
He's always in the gym, too. That must be said. Like, Arnold Allen is always just posting stuff of him training on Instagram, and that's it.
I would hope. It's
just like, there's some fighters who are like, oh, I'm on vacation now. I'm doing all these different press, performances and stuff with all these different...
Calling out guys taking pictures of their abs and their underwear.
Yeah, Arnold Allen very much is kind of a salt of the earth fighter, if you will. And that's why I think this is a great opportunity for him. We brought up the fact that Calvin Kattar, again, I think he is sort of in that Derek Brunson category right now, where he's kind of a forever top 5. He's going to be a difficult fight for anybody in the rankings. Going to beat a lot of those ranked fighters too, but I do think against the elite of the elite, we talk with the Ortegas of the world, the Volkanovskis, the Holloways, the Yair Rodriguez. I think he might come up short against those. I guess Josh Emmett also has to be mentioned in that category as well. But outside of those, Calvin Kattar is going to have a great chance against anybody because, again, his defense is good enough to keep the fight where he excels. Again, I just keep on coming back to the questions of, does Arnold Allen have enough power to hurt Calvin Kattar? Because we have seen Kattar get stunned on the feet. You're right. We've never seen him get knocked out or knocked down. He does have a very durable chin, but we have seen him get hit by a strike, kind of turtle up and back up in fights. It's happened in numerous amounts of fights. So I'll be very curious to see if Arnold Allen can have that kind of power, because I think Arnold Allen hits really hard. Of course, he doesn't hit as hard as Josh Emmett. I think Josh Emmett kind of stands alone in this division for his punching power, but I do think Arnold Allen can hurt Calvin Kattar, and I think that's what's going to come down in this fight. I think Kattar will be the steadier guy with his jab, with his output, but I think it's going to come down to, A, I think it's going to go to a decision. B, I think both guys are going to look good in the 5th round, so I think both those things are very important. And C, I think Kattar's the steadier guy, but I do think Arnold Allen has the potential to hurt Calvin Kattar, and that's why I'm so in the middle about this fight. I think this fight, you hate it when people say, oh, it could be a split decision, could be a draw, but this is one of those fights where we could have kind of 2 rounds where, oh, Kattar won those 2 rounds, Arnold won those 2 rounds. You have a 5th round that might be razor close, and everybody's mad about the decision.
Like Calvin Kattar's last fight.
Exactly. So Kattar isn't new to these kind of these decisions, but I really do love the matchmaking in this fight. I can't say this enough. I really love how these guys match up.
Not a lot of you voted in the community tab for this one. What are you doing? Head over to the community tab. We threw it out to you a few hours ago. 59% with Arnold Allen, 41% with Kattar. We threw it on out to the Instagram community, and it's about the same. 63% Arnold Allen with the votes. In the comments section, Travis says, since it's 5 rounds, I have to go with Kattar. Both saying the broken nose versus the broken hand.
True.
Benny, big Kattar fan, but he's taken too much damage in the past. And Russ saying 2nd round TKO Allen. The odds are about even in this matchup. So Matt, odds are even. Fans pretty well overwhelmingly have Arnold Allen. I think you've set it up one way, but who do you have in the pick here?
Here's the thing. You say I've set it up one way, but I must say this. All week long and leading up to this event, I really thought Calvin Kattar would be the favorited fighter, and I really thought I would find myself picking Calvin Kattar in this matchup.
I think he boxes Arnold Allen's ears in.
Here's the thing. He might, but Arnold Allen's a way better wrestler. He has submission abilities. I think he does have a good enough chin to at least make this competitive. That's what I mean. I keep on stalling because I have no idea who's going to win this fight. I really do think there's a world out there where Arnold Allen uses his leg kicks really effectively, because that's something you had brought up too. Calvin Kattar's a great striker, but when we talk about his striking, it is primarily the boxing, a lot less with the kicks. So I think there is a world where Arnold Allen at range can really effectively use the calf kick, mix in the body and the head kick, be one of those 3-level strikers that we like to talk about. But I guess it's sort of like a Swiss Army knife and a machete. A Swiss Army knife's going to do more stuff, but if you need something cut, you're probably going to go with the machete. And if this fight's on the feet, again, I think it's a close one, because
Make a pick.
Craig, I think Arnold Allen's a more well-rounded fighter, but I guess I do think this fight's primarily going to take place on the feet, and that's why I have Calvin Kattar. I like the jab of Kattar. I think he's going to go to the body a lot in this fight, and I think that's going to be an interesting thing for both guys. Arnold Allen is the more likely to go to the body and go to the legs, but Calvin Kattar, with that 5-round experience, I could see him trying to test the gas tank of Arnold Allen, really test that early, because, again, Kattar is the more proven guy as it goes late, but I can't say this enough. I think this fight's going to be incredible.
No, and I know how hard it was for you to make the pick, and that's why I'm giving you a hard time. I'm just kidding around. But when I do look at this one, Matt, my reasoning for it is Kattar long ago fought a guy just like Arnold Allen at 145 pounds at home. Kattar was the underdog, plus 180. And he's at UFC 220, and he fights Shane Burgos, and he finishes Shane Burgos.
Burgos doesn't kick, though. Allen does.
Burgos throws a lot of heavy boxing combinations, not a ton of volume, and we've seen Burgos turn into a wrestler as his UFC career went on. We'll see if that plays out with PFL when he takes on Marlon Moraes. Why did they make that fight?
I don't want to watch it. Like, I like Marlon Moraes. I like Shane Burgos. I don't want to see a bantamweight fight a massive featherweight.
Ray Safo, you can stop it. You can just
come on, sugar.
Rip up the contract. We don't need to see it. But for me, that's why I have Calvin Kattar. I like the volume. I like the pressure. The other thing with Arnold Allen that we didn't mention, I think this is a big point that you were starting to allude to. His movement front to back and side to side, he doesn't allow fighters to cut the cage,
he does,
which is something that Calvin Kattar does incredibly well. So is the final pick Calvin Kattar in this one?
It is, but again, you're gonna have to check in with question mark kicks, which luckily starts 2 hours before the first prelim does, for us to go through our last pick on the card. Because I gave Craig a hard time leading up to this. He has switched one fight on both of the last 2 cards, which unfortunately for him has not turned in his direction. But again, I can't say this enough. I think this is a very fun main event. It's an important main event too, because I do think the winner then joins the club of the elite in the featherweight division, where the loser just kind of remains good, if not very great, but sort of avoids the elite of the elite. So this is one of the better Fight Night main events we've had in a while. I think that's fair to say. And this is one of those fights that could easily be like a pay-per-view main card fight. I'm just happy it's a 5-round affair.
And there are 9 fights on this card right now. Christian Rodriguez, Garrett Armfield off the card on short notice Sunday. The notes were written, the graphics were done, and we don't get to talk about it. And of course, you also have Grant Dawson, Mark Madsen that was moved to next weekend's card. So we would assume that they're going to add a few more fights to this card, and we will have those out as individual videos along with these 9 in their individual formats as quickly as we can possibly get them out there for you folks. So make sure you toss a like on the video. So many of you did last weekend, and the subscriptions went wild. It was like Hulkamania in the late 80s, early 90s. So thanks so much for all the support out there. 2 hours before the prelims is question mark kicks. Keep it locked in with Fight Night picks, as we always say.
Let's get into it.